I'm George Pennington, your occasional host on Hardin County Education TV's Issues and Insights. And today, I have two distinguished young men here, Professor Dick Ardisson, okay, Marshall, Professor Dick Ardisson, and Professor Mark Kelly. And it's scholarship season, and we'll get into that in a little while. But Professor Mark, if you would, give us your background, how you ended up here in Kentucky, relevant things. You got 30 minutes. Take your time.
Good morning. My name is Mark Kelly. I've had an opportunity to use this venue other times with other organizations, but today I'm wearing my hat as just recently replaced past president of the Military Officers Association Fort Knox Area Chapter. I'm a retired officer, as I referenced. I'm a citizen of Kentucky, but I came here over 50 years ago, a product of ROTC from Niagara University, 5 miles down the gorge from Niagara Falls. I lived up in Western New York, came in the Army, back and forth out of Knox, and got back in '84, decided to stop moving my kids, and that was when Fort Knox was in its heyday, knocking everybody crazy and winning football championships in the late '80s. But in any case, in '90,
Is that Derek Homer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Moved out the gate in 1990 and became a consummate volunteer. Decided to work a little bit as a government contractor, but mainly my wife and I continue to volunteer, and especially focused on veterans activities. The Military Officers Association is a nonprofit charitable group, but we're also an influence group, and we mainly focus on making sure that veterans are taken care of to get their earned entitlements for their service. And whether it be a new veteran who joins the Army or someone else until they reach the grave and are properly put away. And but today, the biggest thing, as far as our timeline, because of things that we haven't been able to do in the last year because of COVID-19 restrictions, if that's a proper term, is we need to highlight the scholarships that we offer each year. And Dick Ardisson is going to talk to that. We do other things throughout the year, but many of them are focused on raising money as that nonprofit group so that we can give quality scholarships and recognize excellence. With that being said, I'd like to introduce Dick Ardisson, who lives across the street from me, and
That's an unholy alliance. I'm just saying.
And even though I'm a longtime member of the credit union, these guys are the godfathers of the credit union.
He is, certainly. He is, certainly.
So Dick Ardisson is going to talk to you about our scholarship program.
Thanks, Mark. Good morning, George. Long time no see.
Good morning, Coach. I'll go between Coach and Professor. You know I do that sometimes.
Yep.
Dick, if you don't mind, give us a little bit of your background, and even if you have West Virginia roots, you can go ahead and give us a little bit of that background, all right? I'm just saying.
My roots start well before West Virginia. I grew up in the Pittsburgh area.
Okay.
And went to Marshall University and graduated from there with an accounting and economics degree, and continued my education as a hilltopper.
There you go. There you go.
Good deal.
That's
So I've been with MOAA since I retired from the Army in '93. I spent 23 years in the Army, and I spent 18 more years working as a defense contractor at Fort Knox. And when the Armor School left, I packed up my bag and went home, and I spend my time, as Mark does, volunteering and playing at golf. I'm not a very good golfer, but that's what I do to fill my time.
Okay. Now, you two are both armor, right?
Yes.
And you can hear me? And you can hear me?
We can hear you.
That's amazing. My neighbor's armor, and I thought, how does he hear my music? Why does he say it's so loud? He's not supposed to be able to hear that.
Even though we're neighbors, we served apart and down the street in the 68th Armored Regiment in Germany.
Okay. Wow.
Just a few months or maybe a year apart from our time on station.
What was that timeline when you were in Germany? Yeah.
I was there in 69 to 72 and then 80 to 83.
Okay.
And then I was there in that same community from 73 to 79. Came out of command, came back here to the advanced course.
Okay. I was at RAF Bentwaters about that time with my little pup, guarding the perimeter, okay? Keeping the Russians at bay, Mark. I was keeping the Russians at bay.
Yeah.
Did my best.
Well, when the wall came down, I was amazed when I looked at all the things I did for 20 years over there.
Good gracious. Okay.
Well, you know, when the wall came down, I remember watching that. I was on my last overseas tour in Cairo, Egypt.
Wow.
And had a guy that was German with me, and he and his wife couldn't believe the wall was coming down.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That was a moment, especially if you had roots there. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, when you look at your focus and what you did and the general defense plans and everything that you did was all focused on that during our watch.
Gotcha.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Dick was on watch a little longer than I.
I got you. And we had little A-10s there at Bentwaters, hopefully as a deterrent.
Yeah, a tanker's best friend on the battlefield.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
So I got involved in the MOA scholarships about 10 years ago, heavily. Before that, my wife and I worked on the MOA scholarship committee and did that for a number of years. And then when the previous scholarship chair retired, I was asked if I would do it for a couple years. So 10 years later, I'm still doing it. And it's a rewarding job. But I also work with the Association of the United States Army and the Military Order of the World Wars. And as Mark said, and as you know, we volunteer our services at the credit union as directors of the largest credit union in Kentucky, Abound Credit Union. So this is the 26th consecutive year that we're going to do scholarships. When we started doing that, it was just at Fort Knox, and over the past 25 years, that's expanded. And I'll talk about where all we do that a little bit later. In the last 10 years, we've given out 106 scholarships worth $99,300. The number of applicants obviously varies. The average for the last 5 years was 33, but the last 2 years has only been 26 scholarships. And in the last 2 years, in the last year, we gave out 7 scholarships. There was one for $2,500
Okay.
and 6 for $1,500. And this year, we've expanded our program to include a sister organization, Military Order of the World Wars, who's starting off their scholarship program, and they're doing one for $1,500. So you might wonder, where does our money come from?
Where does it come from?
That's a good question.
It's fiat money. You make it. You print it, don't you? I know what you do.
Our money is donated most graciously by our members. At every monthly meeting, we do a 50-50 pot where half of the money goes to the scholarship fund and half of it goes back to the members in an opportunity drawing. We also do a white elephant auction during the year, and we do an annual golf scramble that's one of our largest fundraisers. Hole sponsors is a predominant source of the income from that, but we do make money from the golf players. And so as retirees, as an organization, we see it as investing in the future of our communities, and we recognize the value of education. We have one member who pays for a scholarship each year in memory of his late wife.
All right.
And we have another deceased member. Before she passed away, she endowed a scholarship over at Central Kentucky Community Foundation for her husband, who was a retired colonel. And when she set up that scholarship, she specified that the selection of the winner of that scholarship would come from the MOAA scholarship pool. Okay. So part of that scholarship money comes from what she endowed, and in the last several years we've matched that, so it's up to the same value as the rest of our scholarships.
Let me ask you a question. This is kind of scholarship time.
Yep.
To my understanding, this will be aired Monday, March 1, I believe.
Yep.
And so we have about a month. But when I see you at the Community Foundation banquets awarding a scholarship, is that the scholarship, or are you on 2 or 3 different committees?
That's the scholarship. It's the Michael Baymore Scholarship, Colonel Michael Baymore. And as I said, his wife endowed that. But since MOA does the selection, the vet generously allows me to come and present that scholarship, because half of it's our money and half of it's her money.
Gotcha.
And that's a good relationship.
So the scholarships that Community Foundation have, when you go online and submit your info, is that how you apply for yours, or you've got a separate track for that? Is that right?
We've got a separate track. We used that last year, but we decided we were going to go back to the old way.
Okay.
So our scholarships, we work through the counselors at the high school.
Okay.
I send them the scholarship packet this year. They got them on the 4th of January. And if you're listening to this and you're not aware of our scholarship, see your counselor. And in a minute, I'll talk about the eligibility requirements for the scholarship. But your counselor is the key person. They've got what you need to fill out. It's not that difficult of an application. This year we're going to award $11,500 based on merit-based scholarships. And as we've done the last couple years, there'll be one for $2,500, 6 for $1,500, and as I mentioned earlier, we'll have one, an additional one for $1,500 for the Military Order of the World Wars. But one application qualifies you for all 6 scholarships.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
That's pretty easy. Eligibility is always a key issue for us. It's only open to military dependents. And these are dependents who go to school at Fort Knox, Hardin, Meade, or LaRue County schools, as well as Elizabethtown Independent School, Faith Home School, North Hardin Christian School. And there are several ways to qualify. And one is to be a family member or a dependent of an active duty Guard or Reserve military service member. Second is a family member of a 20-year or medically retired or deceased active duty Guard or Reserve service member. Or third is the grandson or granddaughter of a 20-year or medically retired, living or deceased, active duty Guard or Reserve service member. In all 3 of those cases, the rank or branch of service of the service member is not a factor. Okay. So, we keep it focused on the military, but we've expanded it. It's only been 2 or 3 years that we included grandsons and granddaughters. Okay. And I understand that this year I'm going to get one whose great-grandfather served.
Wow.
And so looking forward to seeing that. But the point I want to make is, if you served in the military for 2, 4, or 6 years or some other period of time, we certainly appreciate your service. But that doesn't qualify you for this scholarship. We're looking at those that did the full term or were medically retired short of 20 years.
Okay. Well, at least I didn't miss out, because I thought if my sons, I was 4 years Air Force, but I wouldn't have qualified, so they didn't. Good.
Well,
I would have felt like they missed an opportunity.
Well,
yeah.
and it's only the kids that go to those schools. I have 2 grandkids that graduated from Glasgow High Schools going to Transy in UK, but they didn't qualify for the scholarship.
Oh, okay.
Because they didn't go to one of those schools I listed.
I got you.
In Hardin County.
I got you.
Hardin County general area. So the application, as I said, has been with the guidance counselor since the 4th of January. It's really pretty simple. Probably the most important thing is we do not ask for any financial information, because our scholarship is merit-based. We ask for some family information so we can get a holistic view of the applicant.
Right.
We ask about extracurricular activities and community involvement, again, so we can get a holistic view. Your counselor needs to submit a transcript with your ACT score. We ask for the names of the colleges, universities, or technical schools that you've applied to or been accepted to. And then, of course, there's always a 250 or 300 word essay to share your career ambitions and why you need the scholarship. And we do have a minimum requirement of a 2.5 GPA or be in the upper half of the graduating class. And so your next question, George, is probably where can the scholarship be used?
Heck, Coach Ardisson, where can the scholarship be used?
Our scholarships can be used for tuition, books, and fees at any accredited college, university, vocational, or technical school. They can be in-state or out-of-state, and we send the check directly to the school. So there can't be any hanky-panky with our money.
I got you.
And we stipulate when we send it that it's only supposed to be used for those items. So we're waiting for the mail to come in.
Waiting for the mail. Uh-oh. This year, you never know. You never know. They can file electronically?
No.
With you? They can't?
Nope. It has to be mailed in, and we try to use the counselors as a little bit of quality control in the process.
Yeah.
And sometimes that helps, sometimes it doesn't, but that's what we try to do.
Interesting. ACT, though, some schools are not requiring it now. So how's that going to
Well,
play?
this is new, and we haven't really worked through that. That's a bridge we've got to cross.
Gotcha.
You know, this current batch, all the Kentucky schools still did that before COVID
Yes.
hit as part of their program, and I think they're going to continue to do that, but I don't know.
Gotcha. Yeah. So they do that as, trying to think, help me out, Noah. They do it, I believe as a junior, the ACT?
Yeah.
I believe that's a state pays for.
Late in their junior year, I think.
Yeah. I believe so.
Of course, the students can take that as many times as they want to, but, and if I get multiple scores, I use the highest composite score when I build my spreadsheet for my scholarship committee to review them. So as you said, the deadline for these is 2 April, which is 33 days away.
I got you.
And what we have done in the past is presented the scholarship at the school's awards night.
Okay.
But of course, that was stymied last year, so we went to an alternative approach. We were fortunate that I was able to present the one for the Baymore scholarship in a Zoom thing that CKCF put together, and the expression on the young man's face, to quote MasterCard when he found out he was a winner, was priceless.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well.
Young man from Elizabethtown Independent got it last year.
E-Town Independent. Yeah. Yep. I have some roots there.
Yeah,
I have some roots, a little bit. Yeah. Interesting.
So what other questions might you have, George?
Oh,
I know you're full of questions.
I'm full of questions, many of which are never pertinent. How many people are on your scholarship committee?
I generally have 9. I have break it into 3 subgroups of 3, and depending upon the number of scholarships, that's a nice manageable number, between 7 and 9 for each committee to work with. And then we put those scores together and do some magic in Excel and produce a result, and then the committees look at it and see if within their committee they're satisfied, and then we look at it more holistically across the 3 committees to see that they're satisfied with how those come out. And if there's some discrepancies, we go back and look at the individual applications, and the committee will look at it, and then we'll look at it as a whole.
And last year you said you had, what, 55? Or
26.
You had 26.
26.
At one time you had 55 was your high. Was that it?
One time we had 55. That's the most we've had in the 10 years I've been the scholarship chair.
So we're hoping you have to get 155. I'm hoping the scholarship committee has to work like crazy. Why? Because
George,
it means more kids.
I just spent the biggest part of yesterday with one of my other hats on, with the Heartland chapter at WKU reviewing the scholarship applications. And for our chapter,
Did you go blind?
No, for our chapter, there was a big pool. I think there was 73 or 72, something like that.
Wow.
But we focused on a certain GPA average, so that kids that might not be at the top of the ladder would still have a shot at getting those scholarships. And the Heartland chapter, in conjunction with WKU, is going to award 3 scholarships for $1,000 each.
Wow.
And of course, Western has got their own way to help students be successful financially based on their overall GPA. And of course, with the Keys money, as long as you've got a 2.5 GPA, you're going to generally get $2,500 a year.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not as tight as it was when we were going to college.
Yeah.
Yeah. The number of scholarships available in an area, if you spend 10 minutes online, it's crazy. The number Community Foundation give, it's staggering how much is available. It really is.
I think the Community Foundation has got over 100 scholarships, and the last I heard, the dollar amount for this year was over $300,000.
Yeah.
And and some of that's 1-year scholarship, and some of it is multi-year scholarships, which is really great. But you have to, with 2 grandkids in college right now, I know the legwork they've done on the internet to find scholarships, and they come up with some that are really off the wall. And my granddaughter was very fortunate to get one that was a $5,000 renewable.
Wow.
So that
$5,000 renewable.
So that's a $20,000 scholarship.
Good gracious.
Tuition's not cheap at UK.
Was that directed toward Hilltopper country or not?
No, it was a national one.
Okay, but
by one of the prominent life insurance companies.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think in the literature you talked about the steps to get ready to apply, and one of them is my mind went like FAFSA. Yeah, FAFSA. I remember my son's doing that. Tell me about that process.
We don't need anything from the FAFSA, so I can't talk about it. But if you want me to make something up, I'll be glad to do that.
Oh, I do see that. Probably the most important fact is that we do not ask for any scholarship. I may not have seen that.
The operative
I may
word
not
is
have
not.
seen that huge NOT in there. Okay, so you don't have. Now, many kids will have done the FAFSA.
They will
already,
but ours is strictly merit based.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's see. What else have we not covered?
George, I think we've pretty well gone through my notes. Mark, do you have anything else you might want to add?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Well,
I do have a couple questions.
One of the things that I would, obviously, if you're a eligible student out there, and you've heard our presentation, I'd encourage you to stay motivated and be the stickiest piece of paper on the door of your counselor, because your persistence is what's going to find you additional monies if you need it. And I'll just share a very brief experience I had last week. The phone rang at my house, which happens plenty of times. It was for another organization that I'm involved with, and the young lady who called me said, "Sir," she says, "I need your assistance." She says, "Are you still offering scholarships?" And I explained to her for that organization where we were. But I said, if you got a moment, I'd like to give you a little pep talk here about the fact that there are scholarships out there if you are willing to do a little work on your own. Mm-hmm. And I says, and oftentimes you may find them, even though we have Scholarship Central, as they use that term.
Right.
But there, if you go out and you really check, and sometimes this has to do with your family tree and things like that, or your ethnic background. A good friend of mine, an associate, when his kids a few years back were getting ready to go to school, he had a daughter that was smarter than a whip, and she wanted to be an engineer. And she could have probably went to several of the top engineering schools. She chose to go to the Speed School in Louisville.
Yeah,
but this guy was half Polish and half Irish.
Uh-oh.
Now,
is there a joke?
No, I'm not going to tell the joke.
Okay.
Okay. He would tell the joke. I can't because I'll get in trouble.
Yeah.
But
yes, you would.
He said, he says, he says she researched this thing, and she ended up getting a $5,000 scholarship towards her engineering
Oh my gosh.
tuition because there was a Polish organization and they looked for women
Wow.
who were of Polish background. And because her grades obviously were so good,
Yes.
she qualified for that. So there's plenty of those other niches and these other organizations, you know, whether it's a garden club
Yes.
or whatever. So if you're determined, and then I'd also remind them to not turn their nose up at a scholarship just because maybe it's not $2,500 or $5,000. When you're looking at paying for books and fees and things like that, the smaller scholarships add up.
Oh, they do.
And if you go to if you've been to an honors night, you know, you'll see maybe one or two individuals constantly going up there.
Yes, yes.
That's okay because they hustled and they went out there and they looked. So if you want to go to school and you need the money, you can find it, but you got to work for it.
I'd just like to add on to what Mark said. You know, I talked about my granddaughter getting one from a big insurance company, but if you've got some kind of medical disabilities,
Okay.
There are organizations that have scholarships, some of them renewable, based on whatever
Wow.
medical problem you have, and those are all great.
How can people, let's say I've got a neighbor who's an Army grad, and I'll try to make him feel bad and contribute. How can people contact you to contribute or be part of the organization?
We have a website and I believe a Facebook page for the Fort Knox area chapter.
You don't have a TikTok thing going?
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
Just checking.
Okay.
Just checking.
I was listening to a funny story about that on the way down here with the local radio station that he did the last interview with, the morning show. But they were telling us a funny story about TikTok. But no, we don't have that. Or you can simply drop us a note at Post Office Box 966, Fort Knox, Kentucky.
P.O. Box 966, Fort Knox,
966,
Kentucky?
Right.
Okay.
But our membership is open to active or retired military officers, regardless of branch or service.
Right.
Were y'all members when you were active duty? Or
I joined right about the time I retired.
I did. And then when I moved across the street from Dick, he reminded me, he says, you know, you ought to come back to MOA because I had a little lapse there. Got involved with something else, but this was obviously several years back. But sometimes, and there's no excuse for that, when you're on active duty and if you're raising teenagers, sometimes you just don't say, oh, there's another night of the week I need to go somewhere.
There's like being on a church committee. You're on the finance committee one year, and you may as well pencil in the next 25 years.
But if you want something
Okay,
done,
I'm just saying,
you ask someone who's busy because they know how to get it done.
All right,
But we look forward to getting applications from those that meet those eligibility requirements, and nothing would make us happier than for COVID-19 to be gone, and we can go to your school awards night and present our scholarship to you.
Let's do it. We've got probably less than 15, 20 seconds left. Like to thank our writer, director, choreographer, editor-in-chief, Alexis Lee, Professor Alexis Lee, and Professor Noah over there from Bulldog Country. Yeah, and we appreciate it. And stay tuned and tell your grandkids, your kids, your neighbors, there's a ton of money out there. Go out and apply for it, okay?
Thanks,
All right.
George.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks for being there.
Thanks for coming to work today.